Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a concept you might know from medicine. First, do no harm. Seems simple enough, right?
It does. But what if that idea, that ancient principle from the Hippocratic Oath, is actually a kind of unexpected shortcut, a way to get speed and build trust in software engineering?
Right, which seems counterintuitive. Speed usually feels like the opposite of do no harm.
Exactly. So our deep dive today is all about exploring first, do no harm, not just as a nice idea, but as a real tactile disposition for tech leaders and their teams. We're talking about building safeguards, things like solid rollback plans, canary releases.
And arguing that this isn't just playing defense.
Precisely. It's actually the smartest path to moving faster, building genuine trust, and, well, succeeding in the long run.
And it's fascinating. This isn't just some trendy tech idea. You mentioned ancient wisdom. It reminds me of Sun Tzu, too.
Absolutely. The art of war. He talked about tactical dispositions, about putting yourself beyond the possibility of defeat before seeking victory.
Preparing to not lose, essentially.
Yeah, securing the win through prep. So for you listening, our mission today is to unpack how making failure, dare I say, boring, can actually unlock serious innovation.
Huh. Boring failure. I like that.
We'll look at why just being reckless is often way slower than being careful, and we'll give you some practical things you can actually use to protect your systems and, maybe even more importantly, protect your team.
Okay, so let's get into it. What does first do no harm really mean when we're talking about code and infrastructure?
In the tech world, it boils down to actively shielding your team, your systems, from avoidable problems. You do that before you go chasing the next big feature or win.
Like Sun Tzu said, right? Put yourself beyond defeat first.
Exactly. Then wait for an opportunity to defeat the enemy. For engineering teams, this means building in that stability, those safeguards, right from the start, so your ambitious projects don't end up wrecking the core product or just crushing team morale.
Makes sense. Build a strong foundation. And what are the main dangers, the modern enemies this approach helps us fight off today?
Well, the big one is obviously the catastrophic failure. That massive, messy outage. We all know the stories, maybe lived through one. A deployment that crashes the whole application or corrupts data.
Or even a process change that just leaves everyone feeling defeated.
Right. These are the defeats that just shatter confidence. Customers lose trust, management loses trust, developers lose trust in their own ability to ship. And when devs get scared to deploy, well, progress just grinds to a halt.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. That fear is paralyzing. But there's another extreme this helps with too, isn't there? The opposite of fear.
Oh, definitely. That's the whole culture of recklessness. You know, the old move fast and break things mantra. Maybe that worked for a tiny startup in a garage somewhere.
Maybe.
But for an established business, serving real customers, breaking things just means losing things. Users, revenue, trust. It tempts teams to cut corners, skip tests, bypass code review, and the shortcuts just plant seeds for disaster later on.
So you get this swing between recklessness and then, after a disaster, crippling fear. Analysis paralysis.
It's a vicious cycle. And here's the paradox. The way out isn't to stop changing things. It's to figure out how to change things safely. It's about preparing so well that when something does go wrong, because, let's be honest, something eventually will.
It always does.
Right. But when it does, it's not a 5-alarm fire. The goal is to make failure, like you said, boring, contained, non-catastrophic.
So the best deployments are the ones nobody even notices because nothing dramatic happened.
Exactly. Sun Tzu, again, winning easily might not look flashy, but it's the mark of true skill. We want those anticlimactic successes.
Okay, theory is good, but let's see it in action. You mentioned a story, Dev Solutions, Inc. How did they make failure boring?
Okay, picture this. Dev Solutions, Inc. Smallish enterprise software company. They've got this web platform for project management, Node.js backend, JavaScript frontend, all cloud native. Alex is an engineering manager there, leading a team of about 8 devs.
Got it. And the mission?
The mission was critical. Overhaul their old, kind of patchy user authentication system. The new system promised much better security, smoother login, super important. Plus, there was a tight deadline for a key client. And well, that's the front gate to the entire product.
High stakes.
Yeah.
Especially, I hear, given their history. They'd had a bad experience before.
Oh, yeah. A really bad one a few years back before Alex joined. They tried a classic Big Bang release for a new reporting feature, rushed it out on a Friday evening before a holiday weekend.
Oh no, Friday deployment, classic mistake.
You know it. It wasn't tested properly with real data volumes. It slammed the database, took the site down for tons of users, and worse, there was no easy rollback plan because the database schema had changed.
Ouch.
Total chaos, on-call engineers scrambling, people called back from vacation, hours of downtime, furious CEO, embarrassing apologies to clients. The team was demoralized, sales lost confidence, management layered on extra approvals. Developers basically became terrified of hitting the deploy button.
Okay, so Alex walks into this environment needing to replace the authentication system. How did he tackle it differently?
Alex was absolutely determined not to repeat that disaster. He got the team behind this first do no harm idea, which meant absolutely no Big Bang deployment. Instead, they went for a canary release.
Okay, explain canary release quickly.
Right. They decided to roll out the new auth system to just a tiny slice of users first, like 5%. This included internal folks, some friendly beta customers they trusted. Meanwhile, the other 95% stayed on the old stable system.
So if something broke, it only affected that small group.
Exactly. And they could quickly switch that 5% back if needed.
Sounds smart, but also sounds like extra work up front. Setting up parallel systems, routing traffic.
It definitely was. They had to deploy the new auth system alongside the old one. They spent real time writing specific automated tests for login flows, data migration, did dry runs and staging. There was some grumbling. This is adding weeks to the schedule.
I can imagine.
But Alex stood his ground. He basically said, look, if we screw up authentication, it's game over for a while. I'd rather take an extra 2 weeks now than risk a catastrophe later.
How did that go over with, say, the product manager? Deadlines are deadlines.
Yeah, that was a negotiation. Alex had to talk the anxious product manager through it. He explained how the controlled rollout would still meet the pilot deadline for the key client, with the full rollout following shortly after. And management, frankly, remembered the last fiasco.
They probably didn't need much convincing to avoid a repeat.
They reluctantly agreed. Mitigating that risk became the priority.
Okay, so deployment day? Monday morning, wisely avoiding Friday. The canary goes live to 5%. What happens?
The team's glued to their dashboards, login success rates, error logs, performance metrics. For the first hour or so, everything looks perfect, smooth sailing.
Uh-oh, I sense a butt coming.
You got it. But then, the error count for login attempts starts to creep up, just a little at first, then more noticeably. The team dives in.
How was it?
Turns out, it was a weird edge case. Some users, apparently, had special characters, specifically emojis, in their old passwords. The new system's stricter input validation was rejecting these passwords, even though they were valid on the old system.
Wow. Okay, imagine if that had been a Big Bang release. Thousands of users locked out instantly, support lines melting down, social media exploding.
Total nightmare. But because it was just the 5% canary, only a handful of actual users were affected. And crucially, their monitoring caught it within minutes.
So they saw the error spike. What did Alex do?
He immediately hit the pause button on the rollout. They used their setup to quickly shift just those canary users back onto the stable old auth system. Problem contained. They even reached out personally to the few users who had had trouble.
That's the safety net working perfectly. So fix the bug, try again.
Yep. Within a couple of hours, the developers found the issue, adjusted the password handling logic, and importantly, added a new automated test specifically for that emoji case.
Learning and improving the process.
Exactly. By the afternoon, they deployed the updated version back to the same 5% canary group. Watched the metrics like hawks. Everything stayed healthy. Rock solid.
And then the full rollout.
After 2 days of the 5% running flawlessly, they felt confident. They gradually increased the percentage 20%, then 50%, then finally 100%.
And the result?
Zero downtime. No frantic fire drills, no angry calls. To the rest of the company, to the vast majority of users, the whole transition was basically invisible.
That's the boring success you were talking about.
It really was. In the team retrospective, they actually celebrated the lack of drama. The CEO even congratulated them on a flawless launch. One developer literally said, "I can't believe I'm saying this, but that was almost boring."
And someone else probably chimed in.
Yeah, another dev added, "Boring is good. Let's do all our releases like this."
Yeah.
It just perfectly shows how preparing not to fail didn't slow them down. Ultimately, it led to a much better, more meaningful success. It built trust with stakeholders and huge confidence within the team itself.
That's a fantastic story. It makes the principles really concrete. So let's translate that into a toolkit. How can listeners, engineering leaders or teams, build these kinds of safety nets?
Okay, let's lay out a practical leadership toolkit. First principle, design for easy rollback. Before you even start, always ask, how would we undo this change if it blows up?
Make the escape hatch obvious.
Exactly. Make rollback paths simple and tested. Maybe that's running the old version in parallel, like a blue-green deployment strategy, or maybe it's ensuring database changes are backward compatible, at least for a while. If undoing the change looks harder than doing it, that's a huge red flag. Dev Solutions had the old auth running in parallel. That was their easy out.
Simple question, big implications. Okay, what's next?
Second, deploy in small batches. We saw this with the Canary release. Don't just flip the switch for everyone at once. Use canaries, use feature flags to hide new code initially, roll out incrementally, maybe 1% of users, then 10%, then 50%.
Limit the blast radius, as they say.
Precisely. It makes any potential failure a small, manageable event, not a catastrophe. And honestly, it builds team confidence because each step feels low risk. Small, controlled experiments beat big, risky launches almost every time.
Makes sense. Third point.
Third, automate your testing and monitoring. You just can't catch everything by hand in complex systems today. It's impossible. So invest in good automated tests in your CI/CD pipeline. Catch bugs before they get to production.
Table stakes these days, really.
Should be, but crucially, don't stop there. Invest just as much, maybe more, in your production monitoring and alerting. Your telemetry logs, metrics, traces. You need to know immediately if something's going wrong after deployment. Those dashboards and alerts at Dev Solutions, they were absolutely vital. They caught that emoji bug in minutes. Think of these as the smoke detectors and sprinkler systems for your software.
Good analogy.
Okay.
Number 4 feels a bit different. It's about culture.
Absolutely. Fourth, cultivate a blameless learning culture. This do no harm idea goes way beyond just the tech. When something does go wrong, how you respond as a leader is critical.
No finger pointing.
Zero finger pointing. Promote blameless postmortems. The focus has to be on understanding what happened in the system or the process that allowed the failure, not on who made the mistake. You should actually reward people for raising concerns early, for spotting problems, even for hitting the emergency stop button on a bad deployment. Alex didn't blame the dev who missed the emoji case. They improved the password validation and testing process.
Psychological safety.
That's the heart of it. If people feel safe, they'll report issues faster, they won't hide mistakes. If they're scared, problems fester.
Right. And the last tool in the kit, this sounds maybe a bit more advanced.
Yeah. Number 5 is simulate and prepare. For teams that are ready, think about running fire drills or game days. Actually practice your failure recovery scenarios. What does it feel like to roll back a failed deployment under pressure?
Like rehearsing for trouble.
Exactly. Some advanced teams even do chaos testing, deliberately breaking things in production, like randomly killing servers, just to ensure the system is resilient. But even a simple tabletop exercise, just talking through a failure scenario, can reveal surprising weaknesses in your plans. It builds muscle memory and confidence for handling real incidents.
So you practice handling defeat gracefully, which ironically makes you more confident about winning.
That's the core idea. And it leads to this seeming paradox we touched on earlier. All these safety nets, rollbacks, canaries, testing, drills, they sound like they'd slow you down, right?
Yeah, that's the common objection. We don't have time for all that.
But the data and the experience of high-performing teams shows the opposite. Teams that embrace these practices, often under the banner of DevOps, actually deploy far more frequently and have fewer significant failures.
Stability actually breeds speed.
It really does. Think about seatbelts in cars. Did they make driving slower? No. They reduced the terrible consequences of crashes, which ultimately gave people the confidence to build faster cars and travel more. These safety nets in software do the same. They buffer the downside of failure, which frees teams up to innovate faster and climb higher.
That's a great way to put it. Now, we've talked a lot about protecting systems, protecting code, but you hinted earlier this applies to the people too. How does, first, do no harm apply to the team itself?
Oh, absolutely. It's maybe the most important application. Your team is a complex system, a living one, and harm to the team can look like burnout, low morale, broken communication, loss of trust. A good leader applies that same do-no-harm care to the team's working environment as they do to the production servers.
So what does that look like in practice, protecting the team?
Well, for starters, avoid thrashing them. Constant context switching, piling on unrealistic deadlines, whipping up unnecessary chaos that just leads to burnout and mistakes. Shield them. Provide clarity, consistency, realistic goals.
And that blameless culture we talked about is huge here too, right? Supporting them when things inevitably go wrong.
Critically important. If someone feels safe saying, I think I might have messed up that configuration, the problem gets fixed in minutes. If they feel they have to hide it, it might take hours or days and cause way more damage.
It comes back to psychological safety again. That Google research finding it's the #1 factor in high-performing teams.
Exactly. When people feel safe to speak up, to question things, to admit mistakes, even a junior developer raising a small concern can prevent a massive incident.
And sometimes, being a leader means actively shielding the team from outside pressures too, like Alex dealing with the product manager.
That's a perfect example. Part of doing no harm to your team is protecting their focus and their process. Sometimes that means translating technical risks into business risks that others understand, saying, pushing this out too fast could cause an outage that loses us this key client is often more effective than just saying we need more testing time.
It builds the engineering team's credibility when you frame it that way.
It really does. And it ties back again to Sun Tzu. The best generals, the ones who win easily without bloody battles, often don't get the big parades. Their victories look, well, easy. As a tech leader embracing do no harm, you have to be okay with that sometimes.
The smooth project, the one where disaster didn't happen because you prepared, might not get you a standing ovation.
Probably not.
Mm.
But your reward is the trust you build. You become known as the leader whose projects just work.
Mhm.
That reliability earns you influence, lets you take on bigger challenges, and builds incredibly deep loyalty within your team, because who wants to work in a constant state of firefighting?
Nobody. So this isn't about being passive or slow at all. It's actually strategic.
It's profoundly strategic. It's not about avoiding action. It's about enabling bolder action by managing the potential fallout. It empowers innovation. The team can say, okay, let's try this really ambitious new feature because we've built the safety mechanisms. We know that if it starts to go sideways, we can contain it quickly without bringing everything down.
Like trapeze artists. They can attempt those incredible stunts because they know the net is there.
That's a perfect analogy. The net doesn't make them timid, it makes them brave.
So wrapping this up, we've really seen how first, do no harm, this ancient idea, is actually a surprisingly powerful, almost aggressive strategy for achieving success in modern software engineering.
Yeah, it's about smart prevention. It's about anticipating failure modes so you can build systems that succeed gracefully, even when things don't go perfectly to plan. By putting your team and your systems beyond the possibility of defeat, as Sun Tzu would say, with good planning and robust safety nets.
You actually empower them. Empower them to move faster, take on bigger challenges without being crippled by fear, and build that culture of trust and sustainable high performance.
And one last thought, also from Sun Tzu, he wins his battles by making no mistakes. Now, obviously, no team, no system is perfect. We all make mistakes. But the real power of first do no harm lies in striving for systems, habits, and a culture that catch those mistakes early, before they escalate, before they cause real damage. It's not about eliminating risk entirely that's impossible. It's about managing risk so effectively that you liberate your team to innovate fearlessly.
So the final question for you, the listener, is maybe this. What's one small preventative step you could take this week? Something that could make your next big move, your next deployment, feel almost boringly successful.
Something definitely worth thinking about.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.